Back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted, as always, to be joined by Elliot Good. We have just seen Joseph Parker defeat ZHILEI Zhang via a points decision. Elliot, interested to see what you thought of that one. An up and down fight. Obviously, Parker was on the deck twice, but obviously did enough in the other rounds to get the decision. One judge did have it as a draw. I think vast majority of people online had Parker winning as well. How did you have the fight, and what did you think of it?
Yeah, you know what, I mean, I can't just can't go against what you just said there. I think it was a very, very close fight. For me, I'm not surprised, very close either way. To be honest, I thought it was quite wide. Actually, the judge had it quite wide. I didn't think it was necessarily fair. I know that Parker had a lot of the quality work. Zhang didn't put it off on much of a defense, but equally, you see you put a guy down twice. It doesn't necessarily sit with me to have it that wide either. I know we've seen a lot of reaction obviously coming in already about what a fantastic performance was from Joe Parker, but I'm not necessarily convinced by that either. I thought it was a good performance, don't get me wrong, but equally, I wouldn't have been upset if Zhang would have got the nod, frankly. A guy who's like 40 odd years old, all right, a bit ponderous, a bit slow in paces, but he didn't gas in the way that everyone expected him to gas. And I think, Joe Parker didn't necessarily have, you say he hit Zhang clean a lot of times, but Zhang's unmarked at the end of the fight as well. So for me, I think, yeah, I think it deserves to be close. And to be honest with you, I'd have been happy with a draw.
Yeah, it was a weird one when we did our final predictions yesterday. Hopped on with Niall, and he actually, his final prediction was a draw. And as the scorecards were being read out, I was like, if this comes through, we're never going to hear the end of this from the Irishman. But it wasn't quite meant to be. One thing I want to touch on. I didn't really enjoy the fight. I thought there wasn't very much action. This is obviously the co-main event to a bill that's called Knockout Chaos. Could call it Knockdown Chaos, maybe, after what we saw in the Nick Bull Ray Vargas fight, but not quite Knockout Chaos. What are your thoughts? Were you entertained? Were you struggling to stay up at this ungodly hour on a Friday night? Just entertainment wise, what did you think of it, Elliot?
Yeah, you know what? To be honest with you, on paper it's a good fight, but I wasn't entertained. No, and I don't know whether that's to do with the fight itself or to do with the time. Like I'm sitting there, going, oh, it's like 11 plus now, and yeah, like you look at someone like Joe Parker, for example, not necessarily a big puncher in that division. As a heavyweight, looked in great condition. To be fair, though, it looks like Andy Lee's really got him in good shape, but never really caught fire. The fight did it. Like Zhang got punched a few quite a lot of times, as I've already said. Didn't appear to actually be trouble. I think got rocked a little bit once, but didn't appear to be that much trouble. Caught Parker a couple of times, but then was also quite inactive for quite long periods of that fight as well. So there were kind of bits which was kind of quite messy. It never really looked. It looked like it was basically begging out for, frankly, it wasn't going to be Parker. It was begging out for Zhang to like drop that hammer. I think to be honest with you, would have it had like a sort of marquee finish would have been quite a good ending. Even though like I'm not necessarily saying that because I wanted Zhang to win and Parker to lose. I just think he's the only one that was capable of offering an ending like that. So yeah, I didn't necessarily enjoy it that much, but I don't think the timing helped. But again, it's kind of I suppose when you see Parker having done what he did with Wilder, you think, oh, okay, Wilder, obviously has that power, that freakish power, and you kind of expected that to happen a bit with Zhang because he's already done it with Wilder. It's not going to be the same level as it. Like you're not going to be as excited because you've kind of seen him do that sort of stuff anyway. So yeah, I just didn't necessarily think it was the best. I thought Bull Vargas was a better fight, frankly, than this. But people love heavyweights, don't they?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think look, the atmosphere in Saudi tonight doesn't sound great, but it never does, to be honest. But that is another topic. Who would win a rematch, Elliot? I'm not saying we're going to see a rematch, not saying we want to see a rematch, but who would you favour? Zhang was the favourite in this fight, and we've actually we have seen an upset tonight. Who would you favour if there was a rematch next? It could happen. I feel like if you consider Tyson Fury's kind of tied up with this fight against Usyk, potentially a rematch. Joshua, I think his next fight is going to be for a world title, which obviously neither Zhang or Parker have. So it's a possibility for the summer. Who would you be picking?
Probably have to pick Parker just on the basis of Zhang's age. I think Zhang's what 40 now. Obviously, Parker's only 30. Parker's quite young, isn't he? He's only 32, 33. So I would probably pick Joe Parker, just on the kind of run that he's on. Again, probably pick. It'd have to be on points. Like I don't. Parker's not going to stop him. Saw how how many times he hit him tonight. Didn't seem to be troubled. So I would pick Parker, but equally, I wouldn't mind seeing it again. I really wouldn't mind seeing it again. For me, I would have loved Zhang to win it because I almost felt like what you're describing about fights in the current scene in the heavyweight division. I would have loved to have seen Zhang versus AJ. Frankly, I would really like to have seen that fight. I don't have too much of an appetite to see Parker fight AJ again. So yeah, I think for me, a rematch kind of makes sense. To look at like the names around the heavyweight division, so a rematch does make sense. But I'd have to lean slightly towards Parker. But Renaissance guy is obviously in the Indian summer of his career. Fair play to him. But yeah, I would pick him again.
Yeah, no, and we'll we'll see what other names are kind of are in the mix. There are potential other heavyweight fights to be made. Final question for me, Elliot. Like I feel like with Zhang, he's very good at some things. He's got fantastic power. He's a very large man. Um, but I just think that we've seen it now in the Jerry Forrest fight, the Philip Hergovich fight, and the Joseph Parker fight. Three fights that went the distance. Um, he's not won any of those fights on paper. Some people had him winning the Hergovich fight, but it's been awarded as a loss. Tonight was a loss. Jerry Forrest was a draw. Is it the case with him that like he has the potential to be kind of an elite heavyweight and really give the likes of Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, Usyk a really good run for their money, but he just doesn't have the gas tank? If you look at the last 3 or 4 rounds
Mm.
tonight, really didn't do anything. I think the commentator said in that final round didn't actually connect with a punch. And I think I'd be interested to see the official scorecards tonight in terms of how the judges have broken it down. But in my opinion, that's partly where the fight was lost for him tonight. Those final 4 rounds, I would struggle to give many of them. The final 4 rounds against Hergovich maybe gave him one, maybe two. Jerry Forrest, he was kind of clinging on for life and had to go to the hospital after that fight. Give me your thoughts on that. Is Zhang just kind of that key attribute away from being an elite heavyweight? Would you say?
Yeah, I think obviously age plays a factor. I think he's obviously, like you say, he's got the ability, he's got the size, he's obviously got the power. But I think not gassing in the same way that like some people expect. Like some people would actually saying, if Parker gets sort of the sixth round tonight, Zhang's gonna be sort of picked up off the floor. It's not necessarily that sort of gassing. Like, he's able to kind of balance it to a certain degree, but like you say, he can almost like survival in some ways and uses attributes just to get into the fight. He's obviously he's been the distance in quite a few fights in a way which suggests that his engine isn't necessarily as bad as some suggest. But like you say, it does drop off significantly, and I feel like against the likes of AJ, against the likes of Fury, like Fury obviously superb conditioning. I feel like Zhang wouldn't actually have the speed necessary to live with someone like AJ. Frankly, I think he didn't catch him early. I think AJ would probably get him out of there, especially the sort of Ben Davidson version of AJ that we've seen. And Usyk again, I just feel like he's just too quick, too quick, to such superior movement. I don't think, like you said, Zhang didn't land on Park in the last couple of rounds. He's not going to catch Usyk either. So I feel like that drop off in kind of speed is actually where he kind of loses it against those elite guys. But yeah, so I think I can't necessarily call him elite because you look at his record and you go, well, if he was elite, he'd be beating people like Joe Parker, frankly,
Yeah.
who's obviously a world champion, obviously a good heavyweight fighter, but himself, I don't think is an elite fighter. So you have to sort of come through those sort of people. So yeah, I think for me, I think world level, definitely world level. I had him, in top five heavyweights at one point. I'd have to probably reappraise that now, frankly. But I think, yeah, been a good heavyweight, but not at that upper level. And a world title for me is no longer on the card to Zhang, or
No.
possibly even contesting for one.
No, we'll see. I think an issue now with Zhang is I just feel like there's quite a clear blueprint on how to beat him now. And if you're like an Otto Wallin or an Ajit Kabayel, like a top 15 heavyweight, you'd fancy facing Zhang now because if you just think, oh, I might get knocked down, I might get hurt, but if I can make it to the second round of the fight, I'm going to have more left than him.
I think
Um,
I was about to say a word on Joe Parker though, because when he first got put down, I thought this is it here. I thought Zhang's going to win this. I thought he's going to get up and he's going to stop Joe Parker. Joe Parker showed incredible minerals tonight to come through two knockdowns against a guy who was clearly heavy-handed and to see it through the distance and to get a victory like that. So all respect to him as well, frankly.
yeah, if you consider that second knockdown, which I didn't think was going to happen, came in round 8. So fair play for Zhang to still having kind of that power at that stage of the fight. But yeah, it wasn't enough. Elliot, thank you for your time and your effort during the early hours. What it is
I
now.
feel like Zhang myself, man. I'm trying to conserve energy right now. You know, we're trying to get to the end of the card.
Yeah, we'll get them. I promise you. Elliot, thank you for your time, and I will speak to you again soon.
No worries. Thank you, man. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching.